Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. In this video, we are looking at the Week 11 NFL Final Look picks. For tomorrow, we have 12 games. A couple of really fun games to target. The marquee matchup is the Dallas Cowboys against the Kansas City Chiefs. That game looks very appealing for DFS. We have some other good ones to talk about. Let's get into it. If you enjoy the videos, appreciate if you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Twitter at the DFS Process for updates. All the info is in the description. Starting off at the quarterback position, we have Josh Allen, $8,100. There's so many good plays this week. At the quarterback position, Allen looks good against the Colts. It should be a spot where the games are going to be pretty close. The Colts have been playing a lot better recently. They're coming off of a 28-point win against the Jets. Allen did play well. Didn't have to do much in the second half with his arm. They only threw the ball 28 times. I would expect this week to be one of the weeks where he's throwing for north of 40 plus pass attempts. Lamar Jackson is questionable. I probably just prefer to get up to Josh Allen if I was picking between the two. He has a better matchup against the Colts. Not that the Bears' defense has been lights out, but they've still been middle of the pack. Pretty much their secondary at least has been better than the Colts secondary. Then we have Kyler Murray dealing with an ankle injury. It's going to be a game time decision. We'll see if he plays or not. It's always risky to play guys like this that rely on some of their running ability. He's probably not going to run too much in this one just because if that ankle isn't 100%. I might be hobbled by it a little bit. So out of the three guys that are really expensive, I prefer Josh Allen out of the other guys with the questionable tags. The 7K range, you have Mahomes and Dak Prescott, even Aaron Rodgers. That KC game is the best one to target, personally. So if you wanted to pay up at quarterback, I'm kind of looking at Mahomes or Dak Prescott. Prescott, you compare him with CeeDee Lamb with Amari Cooper out. So he's $400 cheaper. Might make a little bit of a difference. I like Dak Prescott. Pay up a bit at quarterback. We have some cheap running backs, some cheap wide receivers that we can target. Aaron Rodgers would be behind Dak Prescott and Patrick Mahomes for me. 6K range, Hurts been playing kind of mediocre the last couple in terms of his fantasy. They've been doing a good job of not having him throw a lot. So 14, 17, 23 pass attempts. They've been just running the football. Now they get Miles Sanders back, so just another guy that they can run the football with. It's a tough spot to run the football against the Saints. Maybe they have to throw the ball in this one. So that makes Hurts look a little bit better, but I just prefer to get up to Dak Prescott or Mahomes or go down a little bit to some of these cheaper quarterbacks. So Hurts not really on my radar for tomorrow. Joe Burrow, 66, makes sense if you wanted to pair him with a couple of his big weapons there. Jamar Chase, been a big combo this year. He's at a pretty good price tag. I don't think he'll be super popular, so Burrow makes sense in the 6K range. And then the 5K range, you can go to Carson Wentz if you wanted to do that. Colts been playing better. He's cheap at 55, but I'd probably like to go all the way down to Cam Newton if I was going to pay down at quarterback. He's going to get the start. He played awesome in the limited times. Only threw the ball 8 yards, but he only had four pass attempts. He had a rushing touchdown. So a guy that will run the football a little bit. And now that he's going to be able to play the whole game, he's going to get probably like close to 30 pass attempts. And it is a appealing matchup against the Redskins or against the Washington football team. They haven't been very good at stopping quarterbacks from throwing on them. 30th in the league, giving up almost 280 yards per game through the air. So for me, the quarterbacks, and then you could maybe look at Tyrod Taylor, not Jacoby Brissett. Tyrod Taylor, disappointing in his return. He missed some easy throws, trying to get his footing back. He's pretty much a tournament option. But if you wanted to go to a lower-owned player, then Cam Newton, who should be a lot more popular than Taylor, you can pivot to Tyrod Taylor. So basically, looking at a couple quarterbacks, it's Cam Newton for me, it's Dak Prescott. Those two, I wouldn't mind going up to Mahomes, and then if I had to pay up to Josh Allen. So those are the four quarterbacks kind of looking at. 3 expensive, and then the 1 cheap guy in Cam Newton. Running back, we have so many good running back options this week. You have so many cheap plays. You have so many expensive starts. Top end, looking at Christian McCaffrey. He has to be the best running back on the board. He gets you a ton of work on the ground and through the air. Last week he had 10 catches on 10 targets, so just amazing for PPR purposes. Then you have Dalvin Cook. Not the easiest spot going up against the Packers. He's also not been getting too much involved in the receiving game, but he's still going to get you at least 20, 25 touches. So he's playable. I'd probably like to get up to Christian McCaffrey instead, or go down here a bit, like Nick Chubb going up against this Lions defense. He should be able to run the football on them very easily. Gives you big-time touchdown upside. Probably will eclipse 100 yards, just knowing how much the Browns like to run the football. You can play Ezekiel Elliott if you are looking to stack up that game. He's pretty expensive at 77, but he's utilized a ton, especially near the goal line. He had 2 1-yard touchdown runs last week. Then for some of the cheaper plays here, it probably starts with A.J. Dillon. He's $6,200. There's no Aaron Jones. And Dillon, last week, got 23 touches. He's also utilized out of the backfield in terms of catching the ball. He's going to be utilized at the goal line. The matchup is amazing against the Vikings. They struggle to defend the ground game. And the Packers should be able to score some points here. It's in a dome. So a lot to like here for the Packers, especially A.J. Dillon, at a very nice price tag at 62 for potentially getting you 20 to 25 touches. Yeah, Michael Carter, 58. He gives you upside. He's playable. Maybe he's not like the top end guy. He's probably like my 4th or 5th best option in terms of the value running backs, but he's in the mix. He got 20 touches, 14, 24, 19. He's been utilized more and more. He's also been getting a good amount of targets in some of these games. Yeah, at least has a competent quarterback. Flacco's going to draw the start this week, so might help him, or it might hurt him if Flacco doesn't like to just dump it off to running backs. Although, going up against the Dolphins, they are one of the best teams in the NFL in terms of just blitzing and just how much often they blitz. So it could be a spot where Carter gets a lot of screen passes. Other guys in the 5K range, David Montgomery is affordable, the tough spot, but he's very cheap at 55. Mark Ingram is 54. No Alvin Kamara again. Last week he played decent, only 3.4 yards per carry, but he did have 7 targets through the air. He's amazing as a value play. And then you have Darrell Williams at 54. Both Williams and Ingram are in play for me. I slightly prefer Williams just because I think that you would expect the Chiefs to score more points, so maybe Williams gives you more touchdown upside, but I can fit in both of them, I will. But Dillon is my favorite in terms of just the cheaper running backs. And then Jeff Wilson Jr. should draw the start with Eli Mitchell doubtful. It's an amazing spot against the Jaguars in terms of just being able to put up points against them. So it does give you touchdown upside. He's cheap. There's like 4 running backs that are below 62 that look really good. Dillon, Darrell Williams, Mark Ingram, and then Jeff Wilson. And that's basically it. You have so many cheap plays that don't need to go to anybody. Don't need to take a chance on any of these guys that might or might not get you 10 plus touches. Moving on to wide receiver, another position where it's absolutely loaded. You can make a case for any of these top guys. Make a case for Devontae Adams, one of the best wide receivers in football. Tyreek Hill gets a date against the Cowboys. Finally came alive last week with 2 touchdown receptions, 10 targets. He probably would match up against Diggs, but Diggs does not have the same speed as Hill, and Diggs has gotten burned on a couple of deep passes this year, so I wouldn't be surprised if Hill burns him for at least 1. And then you have Stephon Diggs. He's getting targeted heavily. Last week finally had a breakout performance, 8 receptions, had the big yard completion, 57-yarder, a touchdown, 3 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks. For Diggs, he's starting to come alive. He gets a good matchup against the Colts secondary. You have Deebo Samuel coming off of a monster game where he had 5 carries as well as only 5 targets, but they went for big yardage almost and a touchdown as well. And then you have CeeDee Lamb at 76. You have A.J. Brown also without Julio. Just so many plays that look appealing at the wide receiver. It's going to be tough to really pick, and you're going to have to hope that you pick the right one, because all like CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Deebo, Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Adams, even Jefferson to some extent, but he's definitely the last guy out of that group. They all look appealing this week. You can try to fit in multiple of them, but for me, if I'm playing Dak, I think I can double stack him, or at least do a single stack with CeeDee Lamb. No Amari Cooper is going to make CeeDee Lamb look even better. Great matchup against the Chiefs this game. Looks pretty good in terms of just being a back-and-forth shootout type of performance. Wouldn't be surprised if both teams score close to 30, if not more than 30 points. And CeeDee Lamb, big play upside, targeted heavily, makes a lot of sense. 7K range, don't think I need to, with so many guys being so good that are right above here, I'm not looking too much at like Marquise Brown or McLaurin or even like Metcalf or Thielen much this week. Hopkins is out, so that's going to help. It's going to make Chris Kirk look better. Maybe AJ Green. Make some of those secondary guys look a little bit better. Jalen Waddle, 56. He's fine if you want a mid-range wide receiver. You have Sanders if you wanted to go with another cheaper wide receiver instead of going with Diggs. Hope that Sanders catches a touchdown or 2. And then if you wanted to go further down here, Allen Robinson is doubtful, so that will a tough spot against the Ravens, but that's going to make it's going to make like their second and third wide receivers look a little bit better. Darnell Mooney would look good. He's pretty affordable. But I think you can double stack Dak. That's kind of the move that I'm going with. Without Amari Cooper, give me Dak with CeeDee Lamb, and then I can even get to Michael Gallup at 42. Gallup goes from being the third option to the second option in terms of the air. He's, this is a second game back, so he should get more and more snaps. He was fine out there last week, got 5 targets, 3 grabs. Not going to kill you at 4,000, but upside for a lot more this week going up against the Chiefs. Should get targeted more. Wouldn't be surprised if it gets to you like 7 or 8 targets. Touchdown upside as well. So I'm loving this double stack. And you can also maybe look to like Robbie Anderson. I think he looks appealing this week. Finally, was getting so frustrated with Sam Darnold. It's also some of it's Robbie Anderson's fault, not catching the ball, dropping the ball a lot. But he was also just not happy with Darnold. We saw that with videos on the sideline. And he seems to have a great connection with Cam Newton. They were in the interview together, post-game. Seem to be good friends. That makes a little bit of a difference for me. He got the touchdown from Cam Newton. I think he looks good at 46. Wouldn't be surprised if he has a very good game. It's a great matchup against the Washington football team in terms of just being able to move the football against them and possibly, especially through the air. Tight end plays. You have 2 at the top end, Kelsey and Kittle. They both look amazing. Kittle starting to look like himself the last couple of weeks. A touchdown in each one, north of 100, north of 50 yards, but they didn't have to throw the ball much in the second half. I like Kittle and Kelsey. Probably would like to get up to one of those. They personally look better than Waller and Andrews and Hawkinson. If I have the cap, or even if I don't have the cap, I'll probably go down just to get up to one of those 2 guys there. If you wanted to spend down, you can maybe look to like Goddard, who got the new extension. He's still kind of expensive at 44. Everett looks fine, but nobody that I'm really dying to play, except for the top 2 guys. I think they just give you so much upside. Like Dan Arnold's been playing better, but now he's 41. I probably would maybe look at Dawson Knox, just because he gives you upside. He's also doesn't give you the highest floor, but he does give you 20-point ceiling, 25-point ceiling. So he would make sense if you wanted to go to a cheaper guy. Defenses, looking at like the Panthers look pretty good as a cheap defense going up against the Washington football team. Their defense has played a lot. I mean, they played pretty solid this year. If for some reason Lamar Jackson's not able to suit up, you can play the Bears at $2,500. But if you want to pay up or at least go in the mid-range, you're looking at the Browns defense. They look amazing against the Lions. They're not expected to have Jared Goff start, so the backup quarterback going up against the Browns, heavy pass rush at home. They look amazing at 31. And then I probably won't break the bank for any of these top guys or top defenses, but if I had to, I would maybe look to the 49ers. But I kind of like the Browns. The Panthers are my 2 favorites based on the price tags. And then in the flex, I'll go with Mark Ingram. Just going with some of the cheaper running backs this week. They all give you 20 touch upside here just with the injuries. Ingram, Williams was utilized heavily in the passing game last week. Dillon also should be utilized in the passing game. All 3 of these guys will also catch passes. So give you upside at 3 cheap running backs and then a Dak double. Bring it back with Darrell Williams. It's kind of the route that I'm looking at for tomorrow. Basically the same type of deal on FanDuel, but let's look at the pricing over there. So on FanDuel, basically kind of the same type of build. A Dak double. I like CeeDee Lamb and Gallup. Jeff Wilson is probably the best cheap running back on FanDuel when he's like DraftKings. He's kind of similarly priced to those other guys, but he is $1,300 cheaper than Darrell Williams. And then he's $1,800 cheaper than Ingram. So for a guy that should get a lot of the work on the ground and a great matchup against the Jags, probably the first running back that you have to plug in on FanDuel. Quarterback, Dak is the second most expensive option. So maybe you can go down to Mahomes if you wanted to. But it's just pretty easy to pair Dak with those 2 guys without Amari Cooper. That's just the route that I'm looking at. And then same type of deal. Cam Newton is kind of expensive. 75 is different than his price tag on DraftKings. So I'd probably like to get him on DraftKings more than FanDuel. And tight end, Kittle is the 3rd most expensive tight end. Kittle probably looks Kittle and Kelsey are the 2 top guys. If you have the $500, you can just get up to Kelsey. If not, Kittle, perfectly reasonable option going up against the Jags. But I'll probably try to get to one of those guys. I don't really want to mess around with any of these other tight ends. I want to have 2 guys that give me 20, 25 point upside. And defenses, the Browns look the best, even though they're the most expensive. The Browns and the Panthers, for me, they're the two defenses that I feel pretty good about. The Panthers aren't crazy expensive on FanDuel, 41. You do have the extra cap to work with, so not too big of a deal. And then wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, fourth most expensive wide receiver, but I think he's just going to have a huge game. You can go up to Diggs if you wanted to go up to Adams, but I like CeeDee Lamb, and then Debo is just pretty affordable at 76. He's kind of sandwiched between Jamar Chase and Metcalf, so I would take Debo Samuel every single day compared to those other guys, even though they do give you upside, but Debo, he even gives you some upside to get you like a rushing touchdown, which can't say the same thing about very many other wide receivers. And that's about it for the video. Looking for more cheaper plays here besides Gallup. You have Brandon Cooks looks appealing. Chris Kirk, but they're like 65 and 66 compared to 54. So if you're looking for like a pivot, Cole Beasley, Robbie Anderson. But I kind of feel good about Gallup this week. So that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. Best of luck tomorrow, and I'll see you all next time.